Hey guys, Token Vaping, Flow to Pacific Vapes. Today's juice review, you'll have to forgive me, is Altitude Juice Company. Definitely has a very Top Gun look to it. As a former Air Force myself, I was kind of drawn to this logo. I think it's really cool looking, actually. As I stated, Altitude Juice Company. This was created by a gentleman by the name of Dale Crawford. It was started in July of 2014. The line actually got released October of 2014 of the same year. So he basically did a lot of research, a lot of testing, a lot of R&D and everything else up to that point, but once he hit where he was with it and where he wanted to be and decided that that's what he was good with, he got this up and out and running. I do believe you have to go to another website. This is one of those companies where he primarily deals with specific other sites and companies to sell his line. The main one that he goes through, and I believe they actually had a hand in helping him with this line, it's hydralifestyle.com. On that website, they do sell his line in 15 ml bottles for $12, and they do offer 4 nic levels, a 0, a 3, a 6, and a 12. It is an 80-20 mix, so it is definitely higher in the VG ratio, so it is definitely a cloud kicker, and the flavors are pretty solid as well. Now, they do come in, like I said, the 15 ml bottles. I did leave one sealed, and I'll show you. They do come plastic sealed, child safety cap. That is his label. Now it does change on the labels. He does change the color of them. This one is blue sky, so he kept it more of a blue ocean type feel with it. It still has the Altitude Juice Company warning label on the side there, as it is standard and mandatory, and then the nic level on the side here. Simple labels, you know, again, amber colored bottles or darker colored bottles. More and more companies now are actually realizing that they don't need to spend a whole lot of money on their logo or their labels, you know, as long as they look presentable and they look clean. Now there are some companies, you know, that they take a little more effort into their labels and they have specific designs. That's great. That's awesome. It is cool to look at as well. But again, you know, that's only part of the whole deal. So what's inside that package is definitely going to make a difference in it as well. But in this particular line, there is 5 flavors that was offered. It is Blue Sky, Sunset, Flying Monkey, Cake Clouds, and Cutaway. So they are kind of more, you know, based on the sky, air, openness, you know, as far as altitude type things like that. So it is kind of cool that he plays off of that as well. The Blue Sky is the one that I left sealed. It's basically just a sweeter blue raspberry. I'm not a huge raspberry fan, so this particular one, you know, I will try, but I left it sealed just to show you what the plastic seal looked like, but it was a flavor that, you know, isn't one that I commonly use, so that was why I did that. Flying Monkey, as you can probably guess, has something to do with banana, which is this one here. It's basically a creamier banana pudding. So for people who do like that type of dessert flavor, it is kind of original because it's not a common flavor that everybody does. I haven't had banana pudding a whole lot, but what I have tried of it, it does remind me of. I mean, it definitely has that. I mean, obviously it does taste like banana, but it's not a hearty banana. So with the pudding, you do have the creaminess of that as well. For a Sunset, this one here, as you can tell just by the heavier tone in the color, that one is a sweet peach. Upon opening the bottle, definite overtone of peach, and it basically is a peach flavor all the way through. Again, not overbearing, and it's not too sweet, so it's not something that you're gonna vape out on, you know, real quick after you start vaping on it. Cutaway was the one that kind of threw me for a loop. It's a blood orange fritter with a Cherry Amaretto topping. So it's definitely a dessert flavor, in my opinion. It's definitely something that I could see, having after a really good meal, and just kind of a follow-up dessert that just kind of finishes off the whole experience. It doesn't have the citrusy overtone of orange, but you do taste it in it. The Cherry Amaretto, I didn't really get a whole lot of when I vaped on it. It may just be because I'm not used to that flavor, so it's something that I'm not attuned to specifically when I vape on it. You definitely get the taste of something else in there, but as far as to say specifically what it is, for me, it would be hard for me to be able to vape on it and then instantly tell you that's what it is. It was still a solid flavor, though. I mean, I did try it, I did like it, but as far as if I had to actually describe what I specifically tasted out of it, that's where I would probably have a little bit of an issue. Again, I'm not an expert on this. I try to be as honest as I can about these, and I just basically, I tell what I know and what I taste. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to have the same taste. Vapors across the board have different palates, different opinions, different tasting abilities and things like that. I know people that can pinpoint everything that's in a flavor without even looking at the flavor menu. And then I get people who, basically don't really care what they vape on because they just vape the vape. They don't really care what it tastes like. So, there's a huge range of vaping ability that's out there in the community. So it definitely is interesting, when you meet different people and you meet vapors from all walks of life, and for vaping different amount of time and different levels and things like that, just seeing the differences in how they are. Even couples, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, they vape completely different regardless of their next door neighbor. So again, I don't want anybody to bank on specifically what I say about a juice line to say that that's the end all be all of it. It's not. I don't claim it to be. I don't want it to be. My enjoyment of doing this is to at least be able to tell people. There may be people that never heard of this company, and they may never have had the opportunity to, like myself. As I do this independently, I'm employed by Pacific Vapes, but I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I don't always have the ability or means to get to the big conventions and the big summit meets and things like that, to where I can meet all of these people and be able to get the name out there for sure. So, and there are a lot of people in the same boat, so by doing these reviews, I try to help spread the names for smaller companies and lesser known companies that help get them more recognized and more noticed, that maybe somebody might pick them up in a shop and all of a sudden it just blows up for them, and it's like, wow, I never thought to go out that way or try that type of a store, and then you get people, who come into a shop and they see a line, it's like, oh, that looks different, and then they give it a shot and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Why have I not heard of them before? So it just, it just really comes down to, just trying to help, anybody and everybody who's wanting to help promote quality vaping and, help the vaping community have more access to different companies, different brands, different flavors, different lines. I mean, you could have 20 companies, they could all make the bulk of the same flavors, but each one has one specific flavor that's completely different. Some people may never get to know that, so I'm hoping that maybe I can help alleviate that unknown a little bit more. As I said, this is an 80-20 mix. It is solid. All the flavors that I have tried were pretty much on point. Myself, I have a preference, as I stated earlier. I'm not a huge raspberry fan, so that was one I didn't break into. But that doesn't mean that it's bad at all, by any means. If it's the same as the rest of the flavors that I have tried, it's going to be a dead-on raspberry taste. It's definitely going to have a sweetness to it. It's definitely going to have that feel of the blue raspberry for that. Ironically, the one that I took to was the Cake Clouds. And I only say ironically because I'm not a dessert person. As far as physical food, I don't eat cake, I don't eat desserts, I don't eat pie, things like that. I never have. So it's ironic that the flavor out of the line that I stick on is the cake cloud. It is a yellow cake with frosting. When you open the bottle and you crack it, it's almost dead on. You smell frosting. If you've ever just opened a jar of frosting before you put it on a cake, exactly what that smells like to me. But again, it is not a super rich flavor. When I vaped on it, it was not something that I all of a sudden got sick of within like two or three vapes. It wasn't something where I felt like I just ate like a pound of cake frosting and then I'm basically going to be sick for the next 2 days. But it's enough to give it just enough sweetness to the vape that it makes it very enjoyable. The yellow cake, it's pretty much a common flavor. It's just basically sponge cake. It doesn't have a super strong outburst of flavor, but you definitely taste it. It's not, when you vape this flavor, you don't vape just frosting. You do feel like you're eating an actual cake. So the cake flavor is there, but it's subtle enough that neither one are going to basically overtake the other. So I'll show you the clouds on this real fast. As always, it's on 56 to begin. Clouds. Definite clouds. Solid, on point. Total kick. Cake. Frosting. Absolutely. There is no second guessing that there is no questioning it. If you've ever tasted cake before in your life with frosting on it, this is it. And I don't mean frosting like the cheap stuff that you get that basically as soon as you open the container it basically solidifies, so it's like basically a hard chunky sugar. I'm talking like the creamy frosting, like when you go in and you actually have a cake made and they put like the effort and the ingredients into it to make it well made from scratch frosting. So my hat's off to Mr. Crawford for that. It is definitely an enjoyable flavor. As I said, ironically, this one I'm just kind of stuck on. If I never eat cake, that's fine, because I could use this and still get the same enjoyment out of it and not have to worry about the calories. Clouds all day though. So, in a recap, it is a solid line. I'm not going to say that there's something about it that is, holy cow, it is heads and feet above everything else. Some people may question that. Some people may ask why. Some people may say, you know what, that's the best flavor I've ever had. And if they do, that's awesome. But you know what? This may also be a line that they would never have gotten to know about if either maybe I didn't do a review, or they didn't post on their Instagram or Facebook, or Hydro Lifestyles didn't go out of their way to help sell their product. So any help, any promotion, any type of assistance, that companies like these that aren't as big as some of the other ones, that don't have the means to be able to advertise all over the country, any type of help and assistance that they get, they always show their appreciation. This company did by sharing me this set that they graciously gave me, along with a hat to help promote it as well. It's little things like that mean a lot. I am very humbled and I'm honored that they allowed me to do this. It is a great feeling for a company to say, hey, you know what, we saw your videos, I like how you do that, so I'd be more than grateful if you'd be willing to do one for me. It's a great feeling. Every day that I do this, I feel blessed. I'm amazed, and I am forever entitled to gratitude and thankfulness for Pacific Vapes for allowing me the opportunity to work for them, to where I can put my knowledge and my ability of vaping to use, to more people. But again, Altitude Juice Company, solid line. I mean, I can't really say anything negative about any of the flavors that I tried. All of them are on point. All of them tasted the way that they're supposed to. Cloud production is definitely there. HydroLifestyles.com if you want to order some, or if you want your shop to definitely try to pick some up. It's a nice line to have as far as just a dependable line. You know, it's not anything where you're kind of like, well, these two are really good, this one, not so much, the other one, don't even bother with. No, across the board, it is just a solid line, so it definitely will benefit anybody's collection. It'll definitely benefit any shop's supply. Altitude Juice Company, Dale Crawford, thank you very much for the opportunity. Anything I can do for you guys in the future, please let me know. Vaping community, Token Vaping, employed with Pacific Vapes, tokenvaping@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook. Definitely just hit me up if there's anything that I can do to help further your vaping experience. I'd be more than happy. Anything you want to know about, anything you want to know for sure, you know, if it's worth it or not, I'll definitely reach out to companies and see what I can do. Until next time, guys, vape on, vape strong, keep it cloudy, have a good night.